Welcome to Universe Wars, where hotly debated rivalries take on a grand scale. This episode pits the two arguably most popular fantasy series against one another, figuring out which one would come out on top in an event of total war. This is how it works. There are 5 categories of soldiers, each with a point value. Base units, cavalry, artillery, heroes, and ultimates. Whichever franchise has the strongest representation in each category will take a proportional point amount. And remember, this is just for fun, and in no way is a comment on how interesting or complex either fictional work is. Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter are solid A-list members of epic and urban fantasy, respectively, and how good a series is does not rely on the power of its characters. With that in mind, here's a brief overview of each of the franchises. The Middle-earth books, including The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and The Silmarillion, comprise an alternate history of our reality with an epic fantasy twist. The stories told are medieval in nature, with fortresses and knights and dark lords. Harry Potter takes place in an alternate 1990s of our reality, except for The Cursed Child, which is set in 2017. Where wizards are commonplace, but hide themselves from the majority of the non-magical population. And yes, there are fortresses and knights and dark lords. These are the equivalents of grunts in the military of each universe. The guys at the bottom who usually do most of the central fighting. For Middle-earth, this includes the Gondorian soldiers, Rohirrim, orcs, dwarves, corsairs, and elves. We're talking millions of highly trained soldiers, armed with swords and bows and horses and hammers, and in the case of the elves, thousands of years of combat experience coupled with superhuman strength and reflexes. Don't forget the ancient Númenórean Empire, which was so powerful that all they had to do to make Sauron surrender was land on the beach. But that might not be enough to guarantee superiority, given that in Harry Potter there is a wizard population of 1.6 to 1.7 million. Imagine the United States military, without the army training, but given small-scale reality warping abilities, and brooms to fly on. This goes 3-1 in their favor. Next is cavalry, the characters that still appear in aggregate but are a little more specialized. For Harry Potter, this includes werewolves, vampires, banshees, dementors, half-giants, thestrals, centaurs, and most of the fantastic beasts. They're going to swarm, shred, scream, and soul-suck in the thousands, leaving bodies in their wake. Or will they? On the opposing side, Middle-earth can field hordes of giant spiders, giant eagles, barrow-wights, ants, trolls, shapeshifters, warbats, and dead men that can kill with a touch. That kind of brute force, combined with unblockable wraith attacks at least equal to dementors, takes this category, again 3-1. Heroes, when the fun begins. Here we highlight the characters that are steps above the rest, who are legendary for their deeds and abilities. Lord of the Rings employs the 5 Istari, the Ringwraiths, Galadriel, and Elrond, and then it gets serious, throwing in powerhouses like Sauron, Melian, Fëanor, Thelion, Turin, Beren, Huan, Arendil, Gothmog. There's a long list of people in this league who have seemingly endless strength and stamina, varied magic, and psychic powers that can span continents. With Nenya, Galadriel can even manipulate time for an entire forest, and Melian created a reality-warping wall the size of a large country. Against odds like that, people in the tier of Dumbledore, Voldemort, and Harry himself seem pretty weak. 7-1 in favor of Lord of the Rings. Artillery. This part is so cool. The Wizarding World has a chance for a comeback here, too, as it unleashes stone warriors, acromantulas, krakens, full-blooded giants, trolls, manticores, sphinxes, multiple morphs of dragons, boggarts, basilisks, chimerae, and the especially deadly Nundu, a 50-foot leopard that can kill hundreds of people at once with its toxic breath. There's no way they can lose, when they're only pitted against fell beasts, 400-ton ram monsters, raging armies of balrogs, hundreds of cold drakes and fire dragons on the level of Smaug, stone giants that can crush cities underfoot, and Ancalagon the Black, whose breath was equal to a 1-megaton nuclear warhead by virtue of sheer size. Harry Potter takes 1 out of 6 points for artillery. I'm feeling generous. In case you haven't realized yet, this matchup is what professionals call a curb stomp. It's frankly hilarious that the power difference between the two franchises is even debated. But wait, there's more. We've already exhausted the fighters that Harry Potter has to offer as we head into the Ultimates category. Lord of the Rings has a race called the Valar, translated to beings of power. Middle-earth is a continent on the planet of Arda in the universe of Ea. The Valar essentially built the universe, with divine instruction from the all-powerful Iluvatar. In their prime, any one of the Valar could easily wipe the Wizarding World from existence, and even their restricted physical forms they were still incredibly strong. After being decapitated and bound in the void, Morgoth was still capable of breaching dimensional walls and destroying the sun and the moon. You're welcome to use this video in any debates you might have, and please spread it around. Lord of the Rings universe is so often underestimated when it comes to power, and more people need to give it the credit it deserves. Comment below for universe wars you want to see. I'm planning on doing Star Wars vs. Star Trek next, but you might change my mind. Hasta la vista.